the really striking thing about those clinics at the moment is that usually you would expect them to be noisy, you would expect to hear children crying because they're unwell, but actually they're really quiet, they're almost silent. And that's because so many of the children that are coming to us now are so malnourished and sick that they're too weak to cry.
And the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered immediate negotiations for the release of all hostages and an end to the nearly 2-year-old war on terms acceptable to Israel. Speaking to soldiers serving in Gaza, Netanyahu said he was meeting commanders to approve plans for capturing Gaza City and defeating Hamas. It comes as Gaza City residents said they were subject to the Israeli military beginning heavy bombardments on Gaza City overnight. In a separate story, according to The Guardian this evening, figures from a classified Israeli military intelligence database indicate an 83% civilian death rate of Gazans killed in the conflict. Let's speak now to Dan Stewart, head of news at Save the Children, currently in Deir al-Balah. Dan, good evening to you.
Hello.
We are going to hang on to your line for as long as we can, but just ask for our listeners' patience if it's a little bit patchy, because, of course, communications are limited with Gaza at the moment. You're in Deir al-Balah. That is a humanitarian area. There are hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees there already. And I presume the area you're in there will come under further pressure because of what's going to happen in Gaza City.
That's definitely the expectation. We're certainly seeing escalating attacks in Gaza City at the moment. And I can tell you that the area around where we are now is covered in makeshift settlements of tents and shelters built from nylon and cast off fabrics and the wreckage and bits of broken homes. There are barely the basics to sustain life as it is here. And the teams, Save the Children teams and others that are working here are already overstretched.
Yeah.
So the humanitarian impact of a huge influx from the north could be huge.
Do you know how many you're expecting? Have you been told to prepare for any particular amount, Dan?
No, I mean, the reports are that there are anything up to about 1 million people in the path of these displacement orders. We don't know how many of those people, children, families, will make the heartbreaking decision to flee. I think we need to remember that children and families in Gaza, many of them have already been forcibly displaced 5, 10, sometimes even more than that times. And the mental anguish of being faced with another exodus right now it's like psychological punishment for the children and families in northern Gaza right now.
Okay, so the population will be evacuated to the south. The IDF has warned medical officials and international organisations such as your own that are based in northern Gaza to prepare for this mass move of population. Can I ask about humanitarian aid? Of course, it has been the subject of much discussion, of much concern, hasn't it, over the last few months? I understand that more aid is getting into the territory. Is that now flowing in at suitable levels? I understand that it will never be enough, whatever it is, but is there at least more coming in at the moment?
There is nowhere near enough aid coming in at the moment. In the last couple of weeks, there has been a little trickle of aid coming through, but it really is a drop in the ocean. Save the Children, we have 45 trucks worth of aid in warehouses ready to join the queue and come in ready to go. We've not been able to get any of our own aid in since the 2nd of March.
Why not, Dan? Why not?
Because we can't get clearance to bring it in.
Clearance from whom?
From the Israeli authorities.
Right.
And to give you a sense of what our teams are up against, in our health and nutrition clinics, our doctors and nurses, they're already treating twice as many people as they should be each day. If you go into one of our nutrition clinics, every bench, every seat is lined with children and families. And the really striking thing about those clinics at the moment is that usually you would expect them to be noisy, you would expect to hear children crying because they're unwell, but actually they're really quiet, they're almost silent. And that's because so many of the children that are coming to us now are so malnourished and sick that they're too weak to cry.
Right. Look, it is an incredibly worrying situation. More pressure set to land on those humanitarian organisations who are operating within already very restrictive areas in terms of the amount of space you've got as the clear out of Gaza City continues. Meanwhile, potentially some encouraging news on the horizon that at least the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he wants to engage in negotiations over a ceasefire in Gaza, that he wants to do that to full effect. But meanwhile, the situation in Gaza City continues. That runs alongside it. Thanks for being with us, Dan Stewart, Head of News at Save the Children, currently in Deir al-Balah in Gaza.